Vygotsky says language is the most powerful cultural tool humans have. We don't just communicate with language, we think with it. When students talk, question, and work together, they're actually developing higher mental functions. Literacy and dialogue are the tools that mediate understanding. For a long time, I believed learning was something you did alone, through effort, motivation, and personal work. But Vygotsky's theory and my own classroom observations showed me that learning is fundamentally social. We grow through interaction, conversation, and shared experiences. This visual shows that learning isn't just about effort, it's about being in the right challenge zone. When tasks are too easy, students stay comfortable but don't grow. When tasks are too hard, they shut down. Real learning happens in the space where struggle is productive, not overwhelming. This diagram can help us to understand how we as teachers can plan instruction. We can aim to give activities that push students slightly beyond what they can do on their own. This just right level is where skills stretch, confidence builds, and new understandings form. In literacy, the ZPD explains why students need texts that are accessible but still challenging. When language tasks fall in just the right zone, students can experiment with new vocabulary, structures, and ideas while still having enough familiarity to make meaning. The zone of proximal development is what students can do with help. It exists only in relationships. I saw this during my observation and group work. Asking questions, sharing perspectives, and leaning on peers allowed me to learn far more than I could do alone. Collaboration is not extra, it's essential for development. Vygotsky reminds us that learning is always cultural. Students bring their languages, identities, and experiences into the classroom, and these shape how they make meaning. As a future educator, I want to create a classroom where students learn from each other, use cultural tools like language and dialogue, and grow together through shared problem solving.
Vygotsky's idea that learning is socially constructed definitely shows up in my own education. I learn the most when I'm talking things out with other people, classmates, professors, teammates, whoever it is. And whenever someone explains something in a different way or shares their perspective, it really kind of shifts how I understand the material. And even group projects or study sessions help me see connections that I wouldn't have been able to make on my own. And as a student athlete, I noticed this on the ice too. And how we improve by communicating, giving each other feedback, and modeling good habits. So for me, learning isn't just an individual thing. It's something that happens through conversation, collaboration, and just seeing how other people approach the same challenge. Yeah, I can definitely think of a time. For me, it was actually in hockey. There was a stretch where I was struggling to read certain plays and react fast enough, and one of my coaches pulled me to the side and walked me through it step by step, showing me what I need to look for, kind of what position I have to be in, and how to anticipate the play instead of just reacting to it. And on my own, I kept getting stuck, but with his guidance, it just clicked at some point. And I think it's a perfect example of the ZPD because I wasn't able to figure it out independently, but I also wasn't totally lost at the same time. I just need someone with more experience to model it and support me. And once he did, I was able to do it on my own. And that's when I really felt how powerful guided learning can be. I definitely see language shaping the way that I learn because the way I talk through something affects how I'm able to understand it. And when I explain an idea out loud or even just put it into my own words, it helps me process it on a deeper level. And Vygotsky talks about how language is a cultural tool, and I feel that because the phrases, examples, and even the slang I'm used to actually guide the way I think about things. And in school, I think that communicating with classmates or teachers helps me fill in those gaps that I didn't even know that I had. Vygotsky's theory still matters today, even in classrooms that focus a lot on individual performance or testing. And I think that those environments expect students to work alone, but real learning still happens through interaction and teachers explaining their thinking, students talking through their own problems, and getting the right kind of support. Even if a class is centered on tests, the moment when teachers break things down or guide students step by step are what actually help them learn, I believe. And Vygotsky would say that if we only look at our test scores, we miss the social part of learning that make those scores possible. And his ideas remind us that students learn best when they get support and not when they're left on their own, because that really doesn't help them at the end of the day. Yeah, for sure. Hockey training is basically the ZPD in action, and you're always pushed just a little beyond what you can currently do, but at the same time, not so far that you get overwhelmed or lose that confidence. When drills are too easy, you don't really grow as a player, and also when they're too hard, you kind of just don't want to do them anymore. And I believe that coaches do play a huge role in keeping players in that just right zone. They watch our habits, pace, decision making, and adjust those drills during practice to challenge us, but without breaking us or making us too tired at the same time. They add a lot of pressure, shorten reaction time, or also raise the speed of the drill, just enough to stretch our abilities and also give us feedback, showing us what to focus on so we don't slip into those bad habits as well.